but you've got your week of activities, and you could either do 2 full days of, or like 3 full days of like absolute like super intense, like out and about, like intense work, and then just like flare up, like basically crash and burn for like the rest of the week. No, it's called boom and bust, not crash and burn. Basically crash and burn.
Don't crash and burn. Don't crash and burn. We don't want that.
Boom and bust is what it's called. It's basically like you're crash and burning after you've done all the tasks.
Katya, where do we get started with this? Because like, thank you firstly for doing this with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, honestly, this is amazing. Because I remember we were talking about booking this all in and just trying to set everything up to kind of get to do the recording was like the tough part of it. Because obviously for me, I can just go anywhere and just go do my thing. But then when you were like, Dilly, can you please like book somewhere just a bit closer and just make it easy travel distance? I was like, I didn't think of it like that.
Thank you for making it accessible as well, because it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Really, really does.
So how do I even get started with how we met each other? It all like, for me, like it all started through Instagram. So I remember I saw like someone had tagged us in a post, and then it come with positive chronic travels, and I thought, who the heck is this? Like, I just saw it, and obviously you see, then you click onto the profile, and you're like, wow, who is this?
What are your first thoughts?
I read the words positive chronic travels, and I was just first I was confused, but then I just saw like this woman who was just like happy, smiling, talking about chronic disease, but in a really kind of like, you were showing off like a completely different lifestyle. And then when you emailed, like I remember you emailed the info and it came through to me, and the team were like, oh, that person that tagged us on Instagram, they've reached out to us and they've told us that they were taking Toxaprevent, and then you rate the product. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like, okay, so we've got this person's actually using it and trialing it out. Because I think you came through, was it Dr. Tina Pierce? No, it wasn't. It was someone else.
Yes.
Was it Tina Pierce's clinic?
clinic,
Yeah.
yes. But I had also actually taken it from a previous nutritionist called Dr. Christine Bailey.
Oh yeah, Christine. Yeah. She's lovely. Yeah.
And she recommended it about 5 years ago, actually, when I was diagnosed, but just for kind of my gastroparesis flares. And then recently it was Dr. Tina Pierce's clinic. I saw, I think it was Dr. Kathy Greig.
Yeah.
For MCAS specifically, because they all came kind of in the last couple of years. MCAS symptoms quite severely, but yeah.
There's an interesting kind of link between mast cell activation syndrome and EDS, because the whole point of today is I think we're going to talk about like going through like where you kind of came from, your diagnosis, and talking about the condition in its entirety.
Diagnoses.
Yeah, diagnoses.
So
okay, diagnoses. Okay,
we
sorry.
Literally put it on screen. Like there's a lot.
yeah. Well, I think we should share on screen today, like to go for the diagnoses.
With the mind map.
Yeah, the mind map. When you shared the mind map with me, I was like, Katya, what is this? But like I said at the start of it, I said like before we even start press record, I was talking to you about like everything that was kind of going on from it. And when you asked me, you said, oh, Dilly, like, what did you get from when people kind of came through? Do you get people with EDS? Do you get people with PoTS? And I said to you, like, my partner has EDS. And it took her about, like, memory serves me right, a couple of years to get a diagnosis, because like EDS isn't really recognised from my understanding, from what she's explained to me.
Yeah.
Then after speaking to you, I think you said the same thing as well. So kind of like, tell me where it kind of like all started.
So for me, and yeah, as you say, EDS, I think there's a growing awareness, which is fantastic. But yeah, certainly for people our age, which is, well, I'm nearly 30. But that kind of age, doctors don't really know about it. So especially in our childhood, when there were issues, no one would pick up on it. I think you'd have to have like very, very severe symptoms for the doctor to pick up on it. So I'd have like tummy aches and headaches and migraines, so much fatigue when I was little, but nothing was diagnosed until I was 23. So how long ago is that? 5 years ago now, that I was diagnosed with EDS.
5 years ago. Okay. How long did it take you to get to that diagnosis though?
So it kind of depends what point you want to like think of, like what symptom that we kind of searched for. But basically symptoms all my life. so from a very young child. But so 2016, this is kind of like my trigger.
Yeah.
2016, I had an appendectomy because my appendix ruptured.
Oh, okay.
And then a month later, there was such bad pain that they had to go back in and do a laparoscopy. And that laparoscopy they found was due to something called adhesions. And adhesions are basically scar tissue that hasn't healed right. And essentially, now we know that it was the Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome
Yes, causing
that
it.
would have caused that.
Yeah.
So they did that, and then after like a couple of years, the nerve pain that was there kind of eased. I still get it when I eat a trigger food, not sure why. But those two surgeries, about a year after that, I suddenly got a chronic daily migraine that obviously I mentioned I'd had migraines throughout my childhood. They were kind of quite common, but I think it was only diagnosed as migraine when I was like 17, 18. So again, like a lot of like misdiagnoses or just like late diagnoses. So I had a chronic daily migraine.
Yeah.
About a year after the appendectomy surgeries, and it just literally was like excruciating for a year and a half. I had to push through. I kept going to work. The doctors weren't really helping. I would just like sit with my head in my hands, like didn't really know what to do. And because of that, so after the appendectomy and laparoscopy, I didn't do any physio because no one told me to. So I'd been quite strong when I was at uni and before that. And then suddenly I went to like not doing any exercise whatsoever. I was working really, really long hours, working really hard with this chronic migraine.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised at like how I was able to function.
You kind of push through though, don't you? Because you're just like at that age, you're just like you just persevere.
I need to. Like, what am I going to do? Like, people don't understand what the condition is. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I pushed through, and it was only after about a year and a half of having this migraine that the lack of physical activity, I suddenly got. I woke up one day actually, and I decided I'm going to do. Like, it'd been several years since I'd done like, I don't know, a bit of a workout routine, like leg lifts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, so I woke up in my bed and decided to do an ab bike.
Is that like where you lie on your back and you stick your legs in the air?
And you meet your...
Oh, okay.
I should not do it properly, but yeah. So I woke up in my spongy bed, not good, it wasn't a hard surface.
Right.
And after years of like zero strength whatsoever and this chronic daily migraine, I suddenly was like, right, I'm going to go right into an ab bike. Really bad idea. And for the first time ever, my coccyx just like subluxated.
Are you serious?
So the first time ever. And it was like so excruciating. But I was like,
imagine.
oh, what do I do? So I went into work. It literally just like flicked to the side.
So you just thought, you know what, I'll just go to work?
I went to the GP.
Right.
And I told them what happened, and they were like, okay, we'll send you to rheumatology at some point. That came 9 months later. So
9 months?
Yeah. But
so did you just suffer with the pain for 9 months?
No, so subluxated my coccyx, walked on it for a month, kept going to work, I think I ended up getting this pillow, which is a coccyx cushion that I always sit on. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
So yeah, walked on it for about a month or a couple of weeks, and then my left hip subluxated for the first time too.
Oh, no.
And then my right hip did too after like another few weeks. And so then I got to the point that I went into work, I literally was just crying at my desk, I couldn't walk, and my bosses were like, okay, what's wrong? I explained, I was like, I don't know what it is, the doctors just told me to wait for an appointment, but I can't be here, like I have to go and find out what this is, and I can't really walk, so I can't be in the office. So they sent me home, and then I typed in dislocation, which was the first key word, because I'd never heard of Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome.
Yeah.
So that was the first key word. That then I found this blog on the EDS Society.
Yeah.
That was like just popping out for a while. like as a joke. Like that was it wasn't a joke, but that was like
Yeah.
the title of the article.
And we can laugh about it now, so it's fine.
we
Don't
can
worry.
laugh about
We can
it
laugh
now.
about it now. We can laugh about it now, so it's okay.
And it just described what a subluxation was, because I was like, oh, this is a dislocation. It's not a dislocation. I can't go to A&E, but it's like, what is a partial dislocation? So I learned what the subluxations that I was experiencing around my pelvis basically were.
Yeah.
And then I went to the London Hypermobility Unit in like 2 weeks. I knew I had to pay privately at this point.
Yeah.
And the fact that I would have waited 9 months with literally no explanation to my bosses, I had to kind of pay for the private appointment. And then was diagnosed with EDS.
I feel like they just they walked in, saw you walking in and went, EDS. I feel like they just walked in and just said EDS.
I think I had about 3 appointments total because he wanted to do testing. But yeah, I mean, once I'd searched it and looked up all the symptoms, it was like a light bulb moment that I was like, well, surely I have this. And
That's crazy.
it was very reassuring when he was like, yes, EDS, but within an hour's appointment.
Yeah.
And my mum was there, and it diagnosed her as well.
Oh,
So,
really?
yes.
So it came through your mum?
It's a genetic condition, so they are inheritable connective tissue disorders.
That's interesting, because I've just had my daughter, so that'd be interesting to see how she gets on with mum having had her EDS.
But I think what's really great is that knowing about it from a very young age, you can implement all the strategies.
Yeah.
So I think the issues with many people, maybe at the moment, they have no idea about it because the awareness is only just growing. So many people are being diagnosed in like their 20s and 30s. Knowing from a young age, there's so many things that you can do that will prevent the joints to subluxate and dislocate, and you can use like orthotics and do good physio and implement everything to make her quality of life so much better. So don't worry.
Yeah, because with like Tracy, like when I was talking to her about it, because I remember like sometimes when she has the chronic pain, she feels the pain. The best thing that she finds is like a magnesium spray, magnesium bath, and then just relax. Like, because I've always found like when she's like talking, like she'll just kind of go like if she's having the pain, she was like, right, I just need to just do nothing and just chill. And I don't mind me sharing this, but when we were chatting about doing this recording, I remember when because we just started off, was it a Zoom call? I think we did, or a Google Meet call. Yeah. And then I was just like, are you lying down? And you were like, yeah, I hope you don't mind. And I was like, and like, this is so much more comfortable. And we were chatting for like an hour, but you just look so comfortable. And you're like, Dilly, you don't understand. Like, if I'm sitting for too long, it can really cause a lot of pain. And I was like, but the thing is, like, I didn't understand it. But then when I actually watched through your Instagram channel and started following through and started seeing, like, even when you were traveling, and I just saw what you were achieving, I was like, this girl's amazing. Aww. because the thing was, like, a lot of people, when they kind of get like a diagnosis like EDS and a chronic condition where people are talking about, okay, you've got this, and the problem is we walk in and people say you've got this, and then you're like, okay, but what next? What's the solution? But it's kind of like they kind of send you at the door and they'll go, well, we know what it is now. Get out.
Yeah.
Like it's get out, go deal with yourself. But I think what you did and what you've achieved is showing people that traveling, like hopefully positive chronic travels, is possible. Like it's completely fine and completely safe. And I think that's incredible.
Thank you. And even travel in terms of daily life, because I mean, we're in London now, and just getting to another place in London, typically, this was an exception today, but typically is an hour, and that is quite a long, bit of travel. There's many steps of the journey, so I feel like travel also kind of just extends to the term, like just moving in daily life. Really, it's like the life is the journey,
Yeah, it is.
And so it's just everything is really travel.
It is, but it's like it's essentially when you're kind of doing that walking and going around, it is like you're planning your journey to a T. Like you are literally planning it, making sure you know every single step. Like if I get up here, where I'm going to walk to and stuff like that. That must be quite tough.
Yeah, there's like so many factors that you never realised anyone who's chronically or disabled would have to consider until you are in those shoes. Yeah. So yeah, there's like so much more. I call it preparation, research, and planning. Like that's the
PRP.
PRV.
Yeah, that's it. PRV. Okay,
Yeah.
That's a good way of calling it. But I suppose like that is good. So like when you're planning like like when you're traveling somewhere, I think was it Thailand you went to? Like, but we were chatting and you were doing
Thailand in the
you
summer.
sent a couple of Toxaprevent posts and stuff, and you were
Yes.
like sitting by the beach and just kind of like relaxing with your sachets.
In the most
So-
beautiful beach bar of the world, in the world.
Sounds amazing. Hey, cocktails and Toxaprevent, great mix. Great
It
mix.
is, yeah. Well, for me, it was Toxaprevent was my cocktail.
Oh, for real?
One day I'll be able to have cocktails again.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the point that I'm at, that yeah, alcohol is a no-no.
Look at all of the EDS symptoms and going around it. What kind of impact has it had with like your friendships? I remember you did a post about a hen do where you were just like, you spoke to the girls and you were like, girls, could you please not spray perfume? You do this, can I have this bed and stuff like that? And I was just like, you don't realise the amount of planning that you actually do. And I think we do need to talk about a bit more about this.
So much, yeah. For that hen, no one wore perfume. The place had no carpet.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Did you pick the place then, or did like?
No, but I just told the maids of honor who were organising it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the requirements: no pets allowed, because if there's pets that have been on the furniture, I'll have a
Animal
reaction.
dander.
Yeah, like when I hug people, if they have a pet, I will react. Or not even hug people. I will, when my MCAS, this hasn't, and touch wood, happened for a while,
Yeah.
because I'm getting my symptoms more under control. But I would have a friend over for dinner for like 3 hours in the room. They have a cat at home, and I would like start reacting to my flat and have to go outside and like have an asthma attack because they just have it on their clothes. Like, I didn't even hug them because that's one of my strategies, to not hug, so that I'm not getting, even if they're not wearing perfume, like residue beauty products and stuff that everyone always puts here, which then goes in your neck, and I will get like hives here. So yeah.
I get that. Yeah, I see. I enjoyed our air hug when we first met. I was
Yeah,
like,
someone was
air
like,
hug.
air hug, no.
Don't hug me. Don't hug me. I was
That's
like,
one
okay.
of,
hug me.
yeah. That is a bit of a, especially when you meet new people that they have no idea that you're chronically ill,
Yeah.
and you have to very quickly but enthusiastically be like, "Hi, so nice to meet you, but I can't hug you." So like, as they're kind of, it's a very quick kind of movement that people will just go in, like swoop in for a hug, and you're like, no, please don't hug me,
yeah.
like, and then you have to kind of very quickly on some occasions explain, oh, I'm allergic to fragrance, but don't want to go into it because it's often not what you want to talk about when you're meeting someone new. So you kind of got to do a very quick spiel and be like on the ball about it when you're meeting someone.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. When you look at muscle activation syndrome and you look at histamine, do you remember the picture I showed you of like how many different things that histamine's actually linked to? That was like the image I showed you. So like if you look at that, like histamine isn't bad. It's not bad at all because your body produces it, because it's actually part of processes from like acid, rebalancing the acid to creating inflammation, so the body knows where to repair. It's part of like our fight and flight response, and it's all part of that program of it. But it's the issue when it's too much of it and it's triggering those histamine receptors. And so when you look at, like, when you say about EDS, it's the same with mast cells and histamine, because I say to people, like, no one person's symptoms are the same, and what you react to, what versus someone else's react to, could be completely different things. And a lot of people don't understand that, because they kind of like, they go, if you say you've got EDS, everyone just kind of puts you into a box and they say you're in this box, where actually you're in that box is a multiple of different boxes with other boxes, because everyone's completely different.
Yeah, and people can have similar symptoms, but they also might have very different ones. So it's just very much depends on the individual. They might not have them until later in life, and it might be something that pops up. It might, things like even MCAS, it's like a condition that waxes and wanes. So it can be not milder earlier and then get worse, like it has for me, but it is getting better and it will get better. And it's one of those things, I think, everyone is very, very different within the EDS subtypes, for sure.
Have you found a lot of benefit from taking the different medications? Because obviously people can go to your Instagram channel, they can see all the medications that you're on, and I know you talk about a lot of them in detail, but have you found like a massive benefit, or have you felt side effects as well?
I actually haven't had side effects from the medications that I'm on. So typically I do react to medications, things like morphine, like opioids, whenever I've had them. I had, or even NSAIDs. I got a stomach ulcer from one, and I vomit and have like a rash for months when I have any opioids. So those kind of things, I've always been like really tentative generally about taking any medications,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals, because my body's always been so sensitive. But well, my MCAS did flare to the point that it has done. 3 years ago, I did start I didn't have these full doses that I'm on initially. I kind of progressed up a little bit and added in ones here and there till it's got to the point that it managed it a lot better. But I haven't had any side effects. So
That's amazing.
it is amazing, yeah. And then when I did start taking Toxaprevent from last June, so about 9 months now, on the full histamine intolerance protocol, I was already on, I think, for about several months already. I'd already kind of maxed up to the max doses of all my, not just antihistamines, my MCAS cocktail, I'll call it, because it's way more than antihistamines.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have just felt more and more benefits over time with no changes in any other variables.
Yeah.
But just taking Toxaprevent, it really has transformed my symptoms, what I can do. I went away recently for 10 days to the Maldives. I didn't use my inhaler on that flight once.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. Even to Thailand, I didn't use my inhaler once, whereas the previous December, so Thailand was July, and the previous December 2022, I again was on a flight, my first flight with MCAS. I used my inhaler 40 times.
40 times.
I nearly asked for oxygen, but thankfully I didn't, because if you ask for oxygen, you've got to do a fit to fly test every single time you travel.
Really?
So my MCAS doctor, when I got back, was like, thank God you didn't do that. Yeah. So the transformation of just kind of my symptoms is incredible. So I'm putting my legs up now.
That's all right. What do you think?
Because it just helps with, I'm going to use this pillow as well. I've even brought my extra pillows with me.
Do you want the coat behind you or anything?
No, all good, thank you.
Okay.
So this fidgetiness is, again, my EDS.
Sorry?
The fidgetiness is my EDS. So,
oh, is it?
yeah, you can't really sit still for long periods. Your joints will ache and hurt like a lot. Let me move this even closer. There we go.
It's picking up? Yeah, it's picking up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, your joints will hurt a lot if you don't move kind of regularly. And for me, just sitting with my legs up, my physio says that it just takes the pressure off your lower back. So there comes a point, which was now, that you can't sit with your legs on the floor. You've got to pull them up. So I'll be sitting in a restaurant. I'm like, sorry guys, like this is totally against social etiquette, but I just had to put my legs up. So yeah, you just kind of have to get used to breaking social norms, because your health comes first.
I really don't care about social norms, because realistically, you've got to do what's comfortable for you. If you feel like at this point you've got to go, you have to go. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story about histamine, right? You think I'd be embarrassed about this, but I'm actually not embarrassed by it. But so like for me, when I drink coffee or when I used to have like really bad histamine, mine was bladder. Like, oh my God, Katya, when I had to go for a wee. Like
kind of like cystitis.
Yeah. So
I've actually got, full disclosure, I've got UTI at the moment. I've had it for nearly 2 weeks.
So, okay. Yeah, so
I have chronic UTI, so.
Oh, that's crazy, man. So
hence also the hot water bottle.
Yeah. Well, hey, you're gonna do it. You don't want to do it properly, right? Yeah. But honestly, like that used to be crazy. That running to the loo, like because I kept hydrated and stuff, drank coffee. Don't get me wrong, I was quite unwell at the time when that used to happen. I was really unwell. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit embarrassed by this, but I did wet myself about 3 times. It had happened.
That's
It was just part of parcel. Yeah. And I was like, I used to be like, oh my God, how can this have happened? But I realized it was to do with the fact that when my histamine, and I used to find it with stress. Stress was my big trigger. When I was stressed, I would get really bad exhaustion. And then when I was exhausted, my go-to was to have more caffeine. And then that little triple combination would just set me off. And I remember I used to I was like in London when we were working, I would walk into anywhere. Like I couldn't even talk to people because I had to find a loo. And I remember like
I know the feeling.
you know, like I remember walking off like tubes, right? Going to a meeting or something, jumping off the tube and literally making a beeline to find a toilet, and like you don't know what to do. And then
There aren't enough toilets on the London Underground.
They're-
Like,
they're
as in
really
there
not.
aren't, as in
Yeah.
that is one of my when I said there was loads of factors to consider. It is, where is the nearest toilet? Like, that is the and when you're on a journey, for example, my grandma's actually in hospital, so I had to go see her on Sunday.
Sorry
And
to hear that.
thank you. It's 90 minutes on the tube. So basically the entirety of like the Piccadilly and Northern Line that I had to go. And with a UTI as well, it's like the main question is, where are the toilets? Where do I go out if I can't hold it? Like, what do I do? So it's, yeah, I think people don't realise, like, once there's any kind of bladder or even GI issues that cause like bowel urgency, it's like you're kind of, anytime you need to travel, it's like, where will I be able to go to the loo?
Yeah.
And how do I get there as quickly as possible without like peeing my pants? Like,
Yeah, I bet, and like I know it sounds a bit strange saying it, but like you'd basically have to walk around with a pad constantly in, but just in case that you ended up going like but weeing a little bit, and just having to find that toilet's crazy. So to go back to it, when I found out that like it was to do with histamine, there's a professor called Professor Vic Kular who talks about the urinary tract infections, and he talks about the Dr. Piers told me a bit more about it, and I haven't fully like listened to it in its entirety. I know I should, but it's one of those things like, you know, it's on your list. Like, I will get to this when I get to this. And then me and T were talking about it, and T was just like, you know, it's histamine. I was like, yeah, but no, it's histamine. So I found that if I like did my breathing exercises, if I kept myself calm, kept myself controlled, like I still drink coffee, still drink water, no issues at all. But what was a game changer was electrolytes.
because
And
it's retaining the water rather than letting it flush out of you. Is that
yeah.
right?
So basically, I was looking at electrolytes, and I'll tell you what happened. My colleague Jessie, she does a bit of manufacturing for us, and she was like, "Dilly, we've got these electrolytes, and we want you guys to bring it out." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Like, you know, let's have a look at it." And like, we're quite we're turning quite anti towards away from like, you know, erythritol and stevia. We want to use natural sugars for electrolytes because like
Alcohol sugars aren't good for the gut.
yeah, they're not good for the gut at all.
Bacteria,
Yeah. So we were looking at like, you know, natural sugars. And then Jessie was like, oh, I've got different flavors. Do you want to try them? And I started like, she sent me like a big bag of like 60 different types of electrolytes. I started trialing them out. And I was saying to T, I was like, I don't feel like I need to rush to the loo. My bladder control was getting stronger anyway. But I was like, next thing you know, this was even better. And like, I'm talking like, Katya, I would go to the toilet like 4 times a night. 5 times a night. I would literally, and I know you're nodding because
25 times in a day
Yeah.
or something ridiculous like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's like my norm. Like, yeah.
So if anyone's listening to this, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this with confidence. Electrolytes, a sprinkle of salt in a bit of water or something. Trust me, for me it's really helped. I don't know if you've tried electrolytes.
I
I'm
do.
you
It's one of, with my supplements, and there's a lot. I will drink the electrolytes by swallowing all the supplements with the electrolyte water because it just
amazing.
lets it go down.
Amazing.
And I just have a plain one because I don't really tolerate the flavours
Yeah.
all. But yes, no, electrolytes, and for PoTS as well. So dysautonomia, which there is, histamine is mediated anyway or involved in PoTS, isn't it? In terms of like the blood vessel dilation. So again, I'm sure, I don't know what the link of histamine and electrolytes is, but
So there's a lot of the time, there's a research paper, and I think we'll put it in the description, but basically they showed that when people were dehydrated, their body released histamine, and histamine creates vasodilation, so the blood vessels expand, and that's to push nutrients and blood through, but it keeps us active. And let's talk about exercise, because I think this is a good point. Like, do you and can you exercise?
For me, swimming is the best thing, but there's a huge caveat. I'm
on.
allergic to chlorine. So, hence the reason I try and jet set to the places that have warm oceans. That is the reason, because it like propels me to so much better health in every way, shape or form. Like the heat, the warm ocean, being able
vitamin
to
D.
the vitamin D, but being able to swim, even when I can't walk, if there's a joint out, I can't walk, but I can still, with the subluxation, I can still like move and float in water. So that is just, yeah, something that is amazing to me, water. But yeah, I mean, because I'm allergic to chlorine, I can't just go to my local pool. So
Do you exercise like at home? Because I know like Tracy does a lot of like planking. She finds planking and then like doing exercises to strengthen her, because if her neck and shoulder starts hurting, so she strengthens all her neck and shoulders and strengthens her lat muscles.
So in terms of physio, the best thing I find is just like a really low intensity daily walk. So whenever I can, I'll try and keep that up with like a certain distance. Every day it will vary, obviously, if there's fatigue and I just can't, but I try and keep that consistent for pacing, because obviously the more that you kind of stop doing that, the more your body will be set back and kind of take longer to recover from it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the principles of pacing. But yeah, in terms of kind of isolated exercises, my knees, I've got chondromalacia, so it basically is like the cartilage in between the knee. Not only do my knees dislocate, but they also the kind of like pops. So if I kneel or I literally just do like 2 squats, it will, and that's why stairs are an issue. It can just pop, and then the only treatment for that is rest, ice, elevate for months. So then I just can't walk at all. So kind of isolated exercises for me, I've actually don't do so much, like maybe even just like, I don't know, putting my feet on the floor, and like digging my heels in, or something so basic like that, which was the latest one that my physio gave me a few years ago. But I actually have just personally found walking, swimming when I can, I've been going kind of every single less than 6 months now, to get out there and strengthen my muscles with water. So dancing.
Okay.
The only sport I did as a kid was dance, so ballet basically, and a bit of hip hop when I was like 11, when I had like a phase. I loved Eminem.
Everyone loves Eminem. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Go on.
But yeah, dance has always been my thing. And actually, when I first was diagnosed to the point that I couldn't walk, my coccyx was wiggling. It still wiggles now. My hips, literally, this hip, particularly my left one, permanently is subluxating. Like, did you hear that? That I just clicked again, that possible subluxation. So, but dancing. So at the beginning, I was like, can I even dance again? That was kind of one of the things that I was like really distraught about. But, and also I haven't mentioned my cervical instability.
Yeah.
My neck also partially dislocates. So I've got atlantoaxial instability, so that
because you wear the brace around your neck. So I've seen even when
with
you're
moving transport.
Yeah, moving transport. Yeah.
Which I only do in those scenarios, just because for me, like, prolonged use can further weaken the muscle. So it's kind of good to let it have some strength where possible. That's why we're talking about being on the sofa all the time. Like, I kind of will sit with my neck like supported a lot of the time, so that I don't have to kind of over strain these muscles, but without wearing the collar. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of but so my cervical instability. So now dancing, it's like your whole body is jiggling, right? But I've been teaching myself, and actually a strategy of a friend of a friend. It's called Movement is Medicine.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
No, I've not, but this sounds amazing.
Yeah. So for the past, I think, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, not every day, days that I can, for like 5 minutes, kind of maybe before dinner, I'll put music on in the kitchen and just like move. And this strategy of Movement is Medicine is basically a class where the first half an hour is you massage from your feet up to your head, I think, and then you'll dance for the second half an hour. But it's kind of like a somatic meditation at first, and you dance with your eyes closed, however you feel, because a lot of your body holds stress and trauma, and especially like the psoas muscle. So releasing it, that's kind of why I believe she says like our ancestors, or no, our ancestors maybe would dance, and animals will do that as a response.
Yeah.
So I, though, have been teaching myself kind of, I've done a few of those classes, but it's more like just the principles of like moving intuitively, because if someone even like tries to dance with me and then I try and copy a routine, I'll suddenly like click something out because I'm not moving intuitively. I don't move how I want to move.
Yeah.
But if I dance how I want to move, and teaching myself to dance without moving my neck, which even teaching myself at the beginning, when I found out about my cervical instability, one of the strategies is just, yes, I don't wear the collar all the time, but just not moving it. I animate so much when I chat, and I used to like jiggle my neck like
Yeah.
and I'm like much better at not doing that. I'm just using my hands now. But yeah, learning to dance without moving my neck. Last New Year's, I could tolerate 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at this like reggae night that was very impromptu.
Yeah.
So that was the start of 2023. And then this New Year's, I went to my friend's house party and danced until 4 a.m.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like
That's amazing.
Yeah, and even obviously we've got like the fragrance and stuff. Like I do the no hugs and have all my other strategies, and it's very much depends on my migraine symptoms and whether I have one. I think I even had a virgin one before that, but I managed to go away and stay away. So it's very much like luck of the draw on the day.
That's amazing.
But those kind of things are possible. And yeah, so in terms of movement, for me it's dancing, walking, and when I can, swimming.
See, do you know what you just said there about movement is medicine, right? Or movement in medicine.
I love the concept.
Like, thinking about what you just said is imperative. You said, if I copy someone, I can jiggle my neck because if I'm copying them out, I can pull something, right? But if I dance intuitively,
Yes.
and I'm going to use that word intuitively, you understand what your body needs.
You do.
And I said this to people when they were taking Toxaprevent. They would be like, how do I know? And I said, listen, I can't tell you when you'll be ready, but intuitively you'll know. And with EDS, it's the same thing. If you feel like your neck is about to go, or your back's about to go, your leg's about to go, stop. It's like you wouldn't, and just like, you know that famous saying your parents used to say, like, oh, if your friend jumped off a cliff, would you go jump off a cliff? They would say that, right? That was like a common thing that parents would say. But it's the same thing. That intuition that we have is something I think that people need to be empowered by, because a lot of the times with a lot of chronic diseases, we feel seen but not heard. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like the people are seeing who you are, but they're not hearing the words, not hearing what's about. And so I would say, like with like things like chronic disease or chronic illnesses, those types of areas, when you go into them, being able to intuitively listen to yourself and say, my intuition matters, and what is right for me is what's right for me. It will give you so much more, because you can then put in boundaries. You can make sure people don't step over your boundaries, and you can put those boundaries in so you feel better. Because in the day, if you want to function 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you need a break. Because you said, you're like, Dilly, I need to have 2 days of just relaxation before we even did this.
Doing this now. Yeah.
And so that was intuition. You knew what you did before.
Yeah.
But you said it before, when I was pushing myself 7 days a week, working, seeing friends, going out, going to bars, going to restaurants, eating, chatting. What did you do? You push yourself to the point of like, your body's going.
When I was with my chronic daily migraine, I would be at like a work drinks, not drinking. There was no way I could, because obviously for me, alcohol is a migraine trigger. Instant like worst hangover feeling, which I'm sure is histamine mediated. But I would just be sitting, like, I remember at drinks with like my head in my hands, just like, everyone was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, just getting through. Like, yeah, it's kind of, that I think is also just kind of hustle culture, because I just thought, oh, you got to power through. But actually, it's so important to, as you say, listen to your body and to rest when you need to. Like even this past month, actually, because I was away in the Maldives at the end of January into February, and got back about a month ago yesterday. And like this entire month, I've basically done nothing. Or as in not leaving the house anyway, like with some work, but not able to leave the house apart from going to visit my granny in the hospital when I had to, kind of thing. So, and this is, I think, my third expedition.
But you see, like, even that is so important because that hustle culture, in my opinion, is, and I say that with confidence. And I tell you, I've been through the hustle culture.
It's so harmful.
It's harmful
it
because
is.
that actually does more harm for you. Because if you're not functioning correctly, you not thinking and you're not feeding the body correctly, not sleeping, stressed out, you will make more mistakes and you'll actually do yourself more harm. Forget the work or anything else, but you'll put your body through a level of stress that you just don't need.
And it can stress is one of the major causes of diseases, right? Like
100%.
yeah, that is a fact. I think I'm quoting right.
Yeah. When they say, like, stress is the cause of disease, they're not joking. If you look at, like, you need that break, and you bring that to chronic pain, and you look at, like, the side of it, like, you need a holiday. It's good for the soul, right?
Yeah, and well, for the physio, for me, it really is. It's kind of like a wellness retreat where I actually get to do the physio that I can't do in the UK because I do not have my own chlorine-free pool because that would be ridiculously expensive.
It's like even having, like, something as simple as, like, a magnesium bath, which is, like, so important because magnesium it works on 300 different biological functions in the system. So even having your magnesium levels low, like, when people can, like, have, like, a jerky motion, that's down to a lack of magnesium. I didn't realize that, but it's down to lack of magnesium. And for me, my, like, ritual on Sunday, right, is just to unplug, unwind, and about 4 or 5 p.m. when I know I've got work the next day. To be fair, I love Mondays. I'm not gonna lie. I love.
That's great.
I love Mondays. I love.
You don't get the Sunday scaries.
Oh no, because, like, because like, I love my job. And I don't call it job, like, I love my career because I have so much fun. I meet so many cool people. I learn so much. There's so much, like, research coming through. Don't get me wrong, it has its stressful moments, but the stress is good.
That's so fab to have found something that you absolutely, it's like dream job that you love, it doesn't make you feel anxious.
I created my own dream job, but I was saying that on Sundays, I will make a bath up, magnesium in, Katya, the relaxation that I have when I sit in, and I like to watch a bit of Netflix, put a bit of TV on, just chill, and that for me is just bliss. It's so peace and quiet, and, like, being able to give yourself that with chronic illness is so important.
It really is,
and, like,
it takes time.
Can you just say that to the camera? Can you, like, guys, take a break?
Yes.
Just, guys,
take a break.
Take a break.
Yeah, honestly, rest when you need to. And listening to your body is so important. Like, it really, really is, as we were saying. But
and talk to your family about it as well. Like, actually sharing that information with your family and talk to, because I know you talk to your partner and he understands completely. He knows, like, this is what Katya needs and this is where I'll support her. But, like, being able to have those open discussions with your partner and actually kind of getting them to understand it, because there are times where you just, like, you have to be like, listen, I can't do this.
Yeah, there are a lot of times you've got to delegate. You've got to ask for help. Even up this, like, on the way up here, like, you carrying my bag, like, whenever I see a friend, it's like, here you go, here's my bag, because walking, as soon as I've got, like, anything weighty, it will just mean that my hips and coccyx and knees or whatever more likely to suddenly subluxate with the misbalance of the weight. Bending down, things like that. There's so many daily tasks around the house that until you have an issue like this, you don't realize, like, oh my goodness, like, it can be so debilitating. And yes, there's certain things that you can implement, but you get to the point that it's really important to accept, like, it's fine to ask for help. Like, it's really important to, there are scenarios you can't do everything yourself. And whether it's a partner, like a parent, or, like, getting in a carer, like, there are, I think it's really important.
And then being able to kind of chat to you and talk through it with you and kind of say, like, what do you need? Not like what can I do for you, but what do you need? And I think if you'll be able to say that, it's a nice feeling to have. And like, I know a lot of people, even your partner and everyone else, everyone has their own levels of stress and they've got their own things going on. But being able to, like, have that level of someone to be able to say, listen, tell me what you need and let me just do that for you. That's an amazing thing, and I think everyone needs that, and everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves that little bit of like I'm here to support and go through it.
Yeah. The elephant in the room is the relationship between histamine and absolutely every single condition that I have. So obviously when we were kind of just preparing for this, I was writing down all of my conditions in a mind map, which we can pop on the screen. And every single one of them, kind of doing a fun ChatGPT search to like find out about the research papers and the relationship that histamine has with them. Not EDS exactly, because EDS is so broad, but with all of the comorbidities, I guess you would call it, that I experience, histamine is involved in every single one of them. And I've been chatting even to friends and family since I had this revelation.
Yeah.
And it's actually mind-blowing. Like, I had no idea that it was beyond kind of gastro issues and MCAS. It really has. It's like a light bulb moment for me.
I think when we were talking about doing this, I think you were researching it and
Yes.
you were just like, oh my God, it relates to everything.
Everything on the mind map. Everything I have.
It's so like histamine relates to everything because it's beneficial. So histamine is actually it's a way of protecting the body, because like I was saying before about the histamine attaching to the H3 receptor, which triggers our blood vessels to open up and us to go into fight and flight mode. That is a protective mechanism. And it's the same with like inflammation around your joints, because what it will do is it put the inflammation around the joints and the areas, because it's trying to make sure that the body sends the white blood cells there to help recover. So it's part of that muscle repair. And so the body's trying to produce it, and it's also part of acid, for example, acid regulation. Your body produces histamine to increase the stomach acid so it can break down certain foods. But the issue is it's actually not just histamine, because histamine's the focus. Histamine's what the body releases, but it's the other toxins which trigger the immune system to release histamine, which people don't talk about.
Is that mast cells or different?
So mast cells play a role in it, but it's the root cause, and I'm going to say this till my face goes blue.
Is it?
The root cause is an overactive immune system, which is triggered by an overload of toxicity. So if you look at like what we're exposed to on a daily basis, like you talk about perfumes and smells, right? What do you think goes into those perfumes and smells to make it smell?
I know.
What goes into makeup?
That's a whole nother campaign that I want to, the fragrance-free movement, because people have no idea what they're putting on their thyroid, the like hormone blocking chemicals and stuff that are in it. Like it's not, toxin doesn't have a strong enough connotation. Like they're linked to causing cancer, and people put it in their body wash, in their beauty products, in their cake it on themselves to smell nice. And not only is it wreaking havoc for really sensitive people with MCAS like me and eczema and giving like rashes and horrendous reactions, and it's just absolutely everywhere. Like you can't really go anywhere without encountering fragrance, but it's actually adding to other people's toxic loads or histamine buckets that I like to kind of refer to, and they don't even know it. So like they're just lucky that theirs hasn't overflowed yet and they're not getting chronic symptoms.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, but they're just lucky that they haven't yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
So do you know I don't have histamine overload anymore. Don't have it.
Amazing.
I eat, drink, I can do whatever I want. I eat, drink completely fine. Before I came here I had a nice falafel and halloumi wrap.
Lovely.
I've been drinking black coffee, no issues at all.
Even mycotoxin free coffee. You can just drink any coffee.
Any issue.
And you don't have to have like special.
I don't have to special coffee. Like I make a good coffee, to be fair. If you ever come to the office, I'll make you a mean coffee. I've got a proper machine and everything. But anyway, the reason why I take Toxaprevent was I started looking at like heavy metals and ammonium and arsenic and aluminium, and we actually downloaded an app called Yuka, or I think it's called Yuka, YUKA, on it's on Apple, on Samsung, whatever you want to go for. And this app, you scan the product, and it tells you all of the carcinogens in the product.
Yes, okay, I did this a while back.
Girl, can I will have to. I have to use the word girl. girl, like you. I'm not joking. I started. T introduced me to it, and she was like, "I found this app because Rivi had a little skin rash, and we thought, okay, we'll have a look at what's going on." Started using more clearer products on her. Realized it was a dust allergy that was causing the problem. But then we started looking at ourselves, and I said, like, okay, let's start looking after like how we look. We know what we're wearing. And funny story, we ended up on a Saturday waking up, and T was like, "I really want to like clear out all of the products and be more natural." So I was like, it's like 7 a.m. I was like, okay, cool. She's like, you know what I'd love to do? Go to Whole Foods and just look for their like beauty product range. I was like, come on, let's go. She's like, well, I was like, let's just go. I was jump in the car, let's just go. I was like, just go. And we walked around with the Euchre app, and we were scanning all the beauty products and like looking at different toxin levels. And trust me, there's a couple of whitewash brands.
Isn't it called greenwashing?
Is greenwashing? Greenwashing, yeah, greenwashing, that's the word, sorry. Greenwashing brands who like claim to be natural, and we were coming up the carcinogens on them. There's a very famous deodorant company who are meant to be toxin free, and there's some of the carcinogens they do have in there. I was like, that's very greenwashing. And so we went through, and we've changed our entire like collection of like moisturizers, because I like to moisturize. I like to look after my skin and make sure, because you have one body, look after it, right? And I've noticed a significant difference. But when I tell people, all I can say is until you do it, you'll never realize. And I used to feel, when I used to come to London, I used to hate how polluted it was. You're exposed to car pollution. Your food's polluted. There's studies from 2017, 2018 that the Food Standards Authorities did, where they actually looked at the amount of toxins that are in foods. They found that chard lettuce, kale, spinach had the highest amounts of lead in them. Because people don't realise that when a car's driving along and it's polluting, it goes into the atmosphere, mixes with the rainwater, and that water then goes onto your vegetation that you're eating. You don't think like that, do you? Though, because you're like, and think where are motorways around the UK? They're all right near farms and fields, but people don't realise that is one of the triggers for your body. They think it's just like, oh, my histamine was caused because of mold, and what they'll do is they'll go, oh, it was one specific thing. Oh, I remember this day when I had like this cold, and all of a sudden it went over. I'm sorry to say, that wasn't the reason. That was just one of the triggers.
Yeah.
There were other triggers, but because it happened that one specific day,
your bucket was getting full.
Yes.
And there was just that might have been the overflower.
Yes.
Not the be all or end all trigger. Yeah.
So what's the solution? Detox, right?
Yeah.
It's not hard, is it?
Move to the middle of nowhere in a mountain and
we live in a bubble, but you can't even do you can't do that. But that isn't you talking about like how many different conditions are linked to it. When you discovered that and the light bulb moment kicked in, do you see, is that why when you started taking Toxaprevent, what sort of benefits have you seen so far? Like, what have you seen from taking it?
For me, because my symptoms were so severe, it has just, I would say, reduced my bucket. Like, I very much noticed that I'm not getting, so I haven't really talked about what symptoms I would actually get. So I initially would get reactions to ingesting anything. It wasn't like high histamine foods. Any food or drink, water, I would react to. It was just the idea of ingesting. So 3 times a day, when you eat 3 meals, I would, for 2 hours, have a very severe, my throat, it would start with mouth hives that would go into my throat. Then I get like visible hives on my neck. I would feel really faint, like very, very multi-systemic. I literally couldn't sit up at the dinner table. We'd have to go lie down on the sofa.
Wow.
I'd be like lying there, like feeling like I was going to pass out, but then I'd have to sit forward because my breathing would half close, but never, ever, ever went to anaphylaxis. So it wasn't even something for A&E because it wasn't ever to the point that I lost consciousness. My airway didn't fully close. It was only ever partial, which I'm really, really thankful for.
Yeah.
But then it was also much harder to get help because it was like, I would also have like an asthma cough, like an allergic asthma cough, but only specifically to that situation, eating or drinking.
Well, it's your body's response, isn't it? It's trying to get what it's out of the system by coughing. It's trying to get you to push whatever's out on there.
It was just my mast cells were firing so much that it hated the idea of ingesting anything because it was just clearly freaking out.
Crazy.
So that, initially I went on Montelukast and some antihistamines, but just not strong enough. And then they obviously got to the cocktail to the point that I was only ever, the cocktail that worked, I mean, there was by dinner time, that would then after about a year and a half, dinner time was then my problem meal because I'd been exposed to things during the day. The first 2 meals were fine. And then after dinner, I'd always have to, like, we just kind of have a routine that I try and distract myself with the program, but then I'd have like these scary like 20 minutes where I'd be sitting there like breathing like that, but not able to, we'd always have like 999 ready, but nothing would ever thankfully progress. But 3.5 years of that. And then, I think for about 6 months I'd increased the dosages. There still was that though, still had like hives in my mouth.
Yeah.
And then with Toxaprevent, I haven't been getting that. Haven't been getting the kind of nighttime reaction and hives in my mouth, or having to use my inhaler 40 times on the flight and things like that. Be reacting to just environmental things that you can't avoid, that fragrances, pet dander, like pollution in the air, chemicals in the public toilets and stuff like that, which might give me a bit of a tingle, but like so much better in comparison.
That's like progress, isn't it?
So much progress, yeah.
But sorry, go on.
And I've got a few foods back in the last few weeks. Yes,
that's amazing. Amazing. But you see, like you talking about like the progress of it, like people with antihistamines, like just to go to antihistamines now, with like, because they're commonly prescribed to people with EDS, with MCAS. Now, a lot of people don't realize that yes, antihistamines do work, but all they do is turn off a histamine receptor. They're an antagonist. They're a histamine antagonist. They just turn the receptor off and they stop the histamine from attaching to it, so you miraculously don't get the symptoms.
Symptom relief, not root cause, right?
There you go. And so when you kind of look at that aspect of it and you actually realise it's just symptom relief, it's not like getting to the root cause of it, my question always is then, what do you think the solution's going to be? Because once that antihistamine wears off, you have to take that every 24 hours. Because if you miss that window, the histamine will just come back, attach to the receptor, and your symptoms are back.
Yeah, I'm still on my 4. I haven't started to wean down. Because the symptoms will come back if I do kind of do that. Like, I'm waiting for the bucket to continue calming till I get to the point that I can like wean off it without it, then progressing to that point. And I think it takes time, doesn't it?
Well, you will get there.
I will. I know.
Because you definitely. Like I can say that with confidence, you will get better. And I always say to people, you will get better.
Yeah.
But everyone, because of antihistamines, how quick they work in terms of turning off the receptor, people go to it and it's a go-to for people, because the thing is, we don't want to stop living the lifestyle that we have. And the thing is, when you're doing that, it's just bucket's gonna keep building up. Next thing you know, you're on another antihistamine, they're increasing the dosage, and there's something else going on, and that bucket's triggering something completely different. And so I always liken it to going to the gym. When you go to the gym, right, you don't go there for the first week and go, I've got a 6-pack all of a sudden, or I've lost all this weight that I want to lose, or I look great. It's persistence and perseverance. When you're continuously doing something over and over again, you will get better. And it's like, you can't just expect to kind of get results the day tomorrow. I know that in an ideal world, we could just look at the gym and suddenly in our mind change our complete body. But I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. You have to persevere. And that, I think, is the struggle for people. But like, perseverance is so core to it. And if you look at for me personally, looking at your story, that's one thing that I've always got from it, is perseverance. That's just I've got from it is perseverance, persistence, perseverance, whatever you want to call it. But you use the word chronic, but I would call you perseverance travel. Perseverance positively travels. That's what I would call it. That's what I would call it.
PPT.
There you go. But I think that's like an important kind of aspect of it, because you found solutions that fit your lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit more about your solutions and what you've kind of had to do? Because if you follow your story from like day one to now, there's so many changes and things that you've done. So for anyone that's watching this who's got EDS or is going through it, like what would you say are the other core things that you should start doing?
So, in terms of managing pain and symptoms, it is very much okay. I did a psychology degree. The conclusion of every single essay was just it's an eclectic approach. Everyone is different. This might work for some. This might work for
Yeah.
others. This is statistically significant for most, but not for everyone.
Yeah.
So essentially, with any kind of treatment or management strategy, it's very much a case of trial and error. So, and yeah, I guess you said persistence, because it does take time. Like, it's not like a quick fix that suddenly you're going to be kind of necessarily going to be back healthy, running and, I don't know, doing everything you would have in like a few weeks or something. Like, it is like a big shift in your perspectives of what to expect in daily life, because it is very unpredictable and you don't know how you're going to feel from one day to the next. So first of all, I guess it's actually acceptance that with EDS, it is a chronic condition, it's hereditary, it will always be in your DNA. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to experience bad symptoms. They can be alleviated.
Yeah.
But it's kind of coming to terms, first of all, at the fact that it's potentially always going to be there, and not beating yourself up about it. So kind of, first of all, that acceptance, I would say, is crucial. But then, obviously, alongside that, having a flare-up toolkit is what I like to call it. And you can kind of jot down what you're trying, what works for you, what to do for specific symptoms, because there's so many different symptoms.
Yeah.
And when I'm in pain, and I think it's kind of because the rational frontal cortex, when you're in pain, kind of completely kicks off, like doesn't work, because it's the middle of your brain that is kind of responding to pain. You don't think like rationally, like, okay, I can do this. Well, I personally never have, and my partner would always be like, oh, well, Katya, you can do this. I'm like, oh yeah. So that's why I thought it's so important to have it all written down, somewhere you can refer to, and then when you are like feeling pain or a symptom, you can be like, okay, I've done this, but wait, what else can I do? And then even if they're obvious, they're not obvious at the time. Like, it really doesn't feel obvious at the time.
Yeah.
So that is something that you're constantly kind of adding to. Maybe the efficacy will change over time, but just having a flare-up toolkit, along with kind of, well, so the next thing, pacing. So we did kind of touch upon it before, but kind of making sure that every day you aren't doing, okay, so you've got your week. I can put on a diagram that will actually help, like on screen as I describe this, but you've got your week of activities, and you could either do 2 full days of, or like 3 full days of like absolute, like super intense, like out and about, like intense work, and then just like flare up, like basically crash and burn for like the rest of the week. No, it's called boom and bust, not crash and burn. Basically crash and burn.
Don't crash and burn. We don't want that.
Boom and bust is what it's called. It's basically like you're crash and burning after you've done all the tasks.
Right.
Because you basically just go into a flare up, and then the flare up will set you back more. So basically evaluating your entire lifestyle and routine and thinking, okay, how can I make everything so that it's not just everything here on 2 days and then I'm just flaring and feeling awful, but actually scattered out with rest in between. And then, okay, I'm going to do this bigger thing on Wednesday, but okay, I'm going to fully rest on Thursday, but kind of trying as much as you can to scatter about your activities, and you can kind of like rate them in intensity and stuff when you do that. And it's just kind of a principle. Obviously, you might not be like looking at a calendar all the time, but just when you're really looking at your lifestyle and how you're living, that to initially do, to start making changes and understand the concept of pacing, I think is really, really important. Okay. So this can include, so when you're looking at your life, like here's some examples. in terms of employment, it might be flexible working, working from home,
Amazing.
getting help from other employees to do certain tasks, allowing like breaks during the day for a nap in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Making changes wherever possible. It might be using a wheelchair so that you're pacing your activities, because
Wow.
you don't have to. A lot of the time, wheelchair users, many of them are ambulatory, which means they can walk, but it might be due to fatigue, or just literally so that they can do more in their week and be able to actually live their life more to the fullest, and more with more freedom,
Yeah.
because they're able to have mobility aids to assist with that. So there's so many. I mean, we're summarizing it probably in a few minutes, but there's so many different things that you can do in your routine.
Yeah.
And just looking at your lifestyle.
I think like I appreciate that, because I think like what you're saying is like look at all the things, that solutions that you have, and then look at all the things you're doing that week and think, right, if I'm doing this on a Monday, I know by about 1 o'clock I'm going to feel my chronic fatigue kick in, I'm going to feel tired, like, and if I push myself too much, so if I know someone wants this urgently, I can split it over a few days. And I think you've done that really, really well, because I remember you've told me before, like, Dilly, I'm really sorry, can we just kind of schedule this for this week, because I've got this client work to do, and I'll do this. And I was going, that's calm, like, carry on, like, do your thing. And I think like being able to talk about your condition with your employer and saying to them, I have A, B, C, D, F, G, this is the impact it has.
Yes.
But being able to say, look, I'll always deliver. It may take me an extra day or two, but please understand, like, I will get it done. I think being able to have that conversation with people is so, so important. And like, so even like us as an employer, like, I would completely understand, because even I, as someone who's quite fit and healthy, I can't go for it. Like, I need a day to chill. Like, I just need a day to relax and unwind, and that's a normal part of that. That should be normalized.
Yes,
I feel like
it really should.
It should be normalized.
Yeah.
Like, even if you should be able to go down the weekend and just relax. And like, people who are quite fit and healthy would be like, oh, I need to go keep it 100 constantly. No one can do that. No one can do that.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, I don't know what you're doing or what you're taking, but that's just unreal. Even athletes, they need breaks.
Yeah, rest, like, the body needs it for growth and repair. Otherwise, like, further conditions will occur, and your body will be in a heightened state of stress with cortisol, right?
Yeah.
So, but obviously, as you were saying, going to your employer with a list of your symptoms, how they affect you, and then changes that they can make. They're called reasonable adjustments.
Yeah.
And legally, in the UK at least, the employer must do their best to make those adjustments.
Yeah.
So but being able to communicate honestly with your employer is definitely really important. Okay, so maybe a good one to finish on, learning to advocate. So
Go on.
that is just, I'm quite like a people pleaser, and so it's been a big learning curve to actually say when I need help in public, or even to the doctors, because I'd always kind of just like want to show up like really smiley and happy, and that's just the worst way to present, like, oh yeah, everything's great, but actually I've got this. They're like, what? We don't believe you.
Yeah.
So, and just preparing for medical appointments, I never wanted them to think that I had all of these like ailments, because I didn't want them to gaslight me, because I'd already been gaslit. So I would not prepare for the appointments, go blank in the appointment because of kind of like adrenaline and just not preparing, and then I'd never get anything out of the appointment. So I think I might have been diagnosed maybe even sooner if I'd actually been going to the doctors and like actually advocating for what I'd been experiencing. And just learning, I think, about your conditions once you are diagnosed, so that you can educate others, like friends and family. But just understanding it yourself, because there's a lot of comorbidities, specifically with EDS. And then when you're out and about, there's so many ways that you might be able to advocate, like cards. specifically in London, the TfL Please Offer Me a Seat campaign. But then when you're travelling in airports and stuff like that, the Sunflower Your Lanyard Hidden Disabilities campaign is amazing. And it really, really helps to communicate in those situations, like, oh, look, like, I do have a hidden disability, I might look fine, like, I'm actually not inside. Yeah, the difference in support that you, and reactions that you actually get when people do understand these kind of schemes, or you've got little cards that when you maybe can't communicate in a situation, but you need to, you can just say, okay, these are the conditions that I have, this is how I need help, kind of thing. A very discreet way of just communicating what help you do need. So I think that's something that asking for a seat, it took me about a few years of CBT to even like get the courage to ask someone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that is I would be wearing my collar on the train to work because my boss still wanted me in once a week, even after I'd been diagnosed. And so I'd be at the point that I could walk at that point and go in the once a week, and I'd just be too scared to ask people. So I'd try and like catch eyes with them and just look at them and hope that they would give me a seat.
Oh,
It doesn't
really?
work. They'll see the collar, they still won't give it. Like, you need to just ask for what you need. So
Yeah.
I can be kind of shy in those situations, and I've really had to implement like a new confidence to, it doesn't matter what they think, it matters if it helps me in some way, you know?
Yeah.
So who cares if they think like, oh, but she looks so young, like, does she really need that? Doesn't matter. You don't need to tell them your medical history. You need that seat, so ask them. And because even after you've sat down, you can kind of feel a bit like flustered, like, oh, like, what are they thinking now? And it's kind of getting out of your head and not thinking like, what are they thinking? Just, how am I? And like, am I comfortable? And kind of trying to care more about yourself than, if you're a people pleaser, than other people.
It's a case of like, sometimes you just need to ask for what you need, and that's so important, because if you don't ask for what you need, people don't know, they can't read your mind.
Yeah, I thought they could, but I've learned they can't.
Well, the thing is, like, in places like London, where it's like a fast-paced lifestyle,
Really fast-paced.
it's a fast-paced lifestyle, and people are like, there's that famous saying, you're your hero in your own story. People, like, they say, like, you're your hero in your own story. People, when you're a hero in your own story, people don't really care about like everything else going on with anything else. They're like, I don't care about this person, that person, I've got my own stuff going on. And that's the truth of it. We've been taught to think like that. And sometimes just telling people, say, listen, I've got to sit down, or I need to have this half an hour break. And like, we have it all the time where you're just kind of like, I want a cup of tea. I need to sit down with a cup of tea, and I just want to be left alone. I want half an hour of just pure silence, and that's important.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really important thing to say to people, is advocate for what you need.
Yeah.
And advocate, and it's not, and you're not being harsh.
No.
You're not doing anything wrong. You're just looking after to make sure that you don't harm yourself even more.
For sure.
And like, imagine if you're a parent.
Difference.
Like, if you're a parent, or you've got to look after, like, you go to see a nan, for example, in hospital, you want to see her and she wants to see you. You need to be able to be strong enough and healthy enough to go do that. And if you've got, like, if you're living this with like your kids and etc. Because I remember that was a massive fear for me as well with T. Like, something happened, if she hurt herself, like, how it would impact us. And that was like, as her partner, I had to make sure that I wanted to make sure she needed the support that she needed to make sure that she could continue being the incredible mom that she actually is. And so, like, that, and I think I've found it's quite like a privilege, I think, as well, because when you help someone, there is that intrinsic thing of like, oh, I've given someone a hand, and that's a nice feeling in itself as well, because you are just helping people, and that person feels great as well, because you've kind of given them a bit of support, and I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really important. I think that's a really, really good, a really good place to kind of like end this kind of chat, I think, and just. Firstly, I want to say thank you, because I think sharing your story is so important. I think loads of people with PoTS or EDS, MCAS or histamine, all that intrinsically gastroparesis,
migraine,
watching all that intrinsically linked with histamine and watch how they're all divided and stuff. I think that voice is so important, because you're coming from a place where you've gone through the diagnoses, you've had it, you're going through it, you've been through it, and you're going, I'm still smiling, I'm still standing.
Yeah. And it's not to say that there aren't bad days,
Yeah.
because the reality is that there might be, and,
Yeah.
and there very much are, but it's kind of, once you've made as many adaptations to make yourself comfortable, then there will be better days. And even if it's not a bright day today, another day will be a brighter day.
Yeah.
And yeah, you maybe couldn't dance for years, but even if you could just dance for a few minutes, like being able to do just those kind of things, even more sporadically in a different kind of nature, it's still, yeah, there's still like hope on the horizon.
You will, didn't they say every cloud has a silver lining?
Yeah.
You are the silver lining.
Oh.
You are the silver lining, because you've given that power to people to kind of say you can live this way. And like, I'll encourage every single person, like, you know, who's watching this, to kind of go on Instagram, type in positively colic travels. The description's in the the Instagram link is in the description below. But I think everyone should be able to just kind of see that story. And it's not a story of like, I wouldn't even say hope. It's just that you can live a fully fulfilled, functioning life and still continue about your day. And yeah, you do have something that's going to restrict you, but it doesn't matter. There are ways to advocate. Again, I'll use the word advocate,
Yeah.
and get better. And I think that's so important. And I'm guarantee we'll have you on again, and we'll be chatting more through it. I'm sure we've got loads of Instagram posts to kind of do together and stuff. And yeah, and if people do have questions, and if they want to kind of know a bit more, if you want to ask Katya any questions, just jump on her Instagram, chat to her. But if you've got a comment, drop in the comments below. And we hope that this YouTube can inspire you to kind of make those changes and continue living a really good and happy, better life.
For sure. Really hope so. If you've also got questions, we want to be doing a Q&A quite soon too,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, let us know what questions that you've got. And we will be answering them soon as well.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honour.
Pleasure. Thank you, Katya.
Thank you, Tilly.
Amazing. Cool, that's a wrap.
Great. Cut.